Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us here today and spending the next hour with us as I chat with team members from the Community Futures Development Corporation of Central Interior First Nations. This session will provide an overview of the CDFC of CIFN and its mission to support economic development and entrepreneurship within communities in the British Columbia interior. I'm Trista Piopis-Ganes, Director of Indigenous Relations from the Little Pine First Nation, and I'm working with Co-operatives First. So Co-operatives First's head office is based in Saskatoon and in the Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. So where I'm sitting right now, cooperatives, we are close to the Wanuskewin Heritage Park, which has been a meeting ground for people in this area for over 6,000 years. So Cooperatives First is a nonprofit business development organization creating to bring awareness and support new cooperative development in Western Canada. So I'd like to welcome my guests and introduce the Community Futures of Central Interior First Nation as they promote regional economic growth through business development services and training by supporting Indigenous communities and entrepreneurs and remain linked to the overall economic, social, political, and development of Indigenous people. So today, we will start off with a presentation from George Casimir, the General Manager of CFDC of CIFN. So welcome, George.
Thank you, Trista. Welcome to, we're coming to you live from Tecumseh to Secwepemc in a traditional territory of the Secwepemc people. It's an honor to be here and to talk about what CFDC of CIFN does. I have my two staff members, Keontae and Stephanie, and they'll be, participating, talking about the different lending programs that we have under our roof and how we support Indigenous entrepreneurs. I just want to start by saying, I met Trista a few years ago, and because co-op isn't, it doesn't have the presence I think it should here in the interior or in BC. We've had some great discussions on how we could work together and talk about opportunities. So, as we go through, I was talking to my staff earlier, like we'll be mindful as we're thinking about, how can we promote the cooperative idea and how would that work within our region? So, about CIFN, before we get started, we are a lending institution. We do a lot of business training, business planning. Our main focus is to get dollars out the door to the entrepreneurs when they need them, in way of providing startup capital or expansion capital for businesses. We are specifically Indigenous focused. Our staff are Indigenous. Our directors are Indigenous. So we're very focused on who we are supporting within our region. We have two major funders. One is Pacific Can, and the other is NACDA, which is the National Aboriginal Credit Corporation. We love being both a Community Futures and an Indigenous financial institution. We have lots of work to do with those two partnerships. There's 11 IFIs in British Columbia and 34 CF offices. And I think we all work collectively for the same goals. And it's an honor to be here. That's us in a nutshell. And I'm going to start off with the presentation, and it's about one of the projects that we created during COVID. And we had clients who said they had nowhere to sell their goods and services and what they grew. And as an essential service, we started this consultant market. And it's been running now for 4 years. And it's just a program that continues to grow each and every year. So we, uh-oh. The screen just went black for a second. So here we go, the Kweseltken. And it's all about community economic development and Indigenous food sovereignty. And we had our original funding by PanWest, which is basically the umbrella of CFDC. So Kweseltken, even when we're trying to figure out how do we name this project, and my chairperson says, let's call it the Kweseltken, which means all my relations. All my relations, we talked about that, and we always look at the region as one, because whether we're related, we're First Nation, we're Indigenous, we're all in that region together, whether it's wildfire, pandemic, so I think it was a very fitting word that we're all related by geography and impact of environment and those kind of things. So the word means a lot to all of us here from the Schwednick area. So the Kweseltken project, I talked a little bit about what CIFN was about and why we started the market. What was really interesting is we started learning a lot of things about who our vendors were, what our people needed in terms of training, because when you have a market and you're part of the BC Farmers Market Association, you have guidelines that you need to adhere to, such as the First Nations Health Authority. So when people are putting canned goods and processed goods, and even as simple as eggs on a table to sell, there's regulations. So we started learning that our people needed to, kind of learn more. I thought it was kind of silly, because why would I tell a grandmother who's been canning for 40 years that now I need your ingredients in the label on it? So it was kind of a silly kind of concept to me, but we took the opportunity to learn, and we wrote the Indigenous Agricultural Situation Assessment. And we done that with $6,900 from the province Ministry of Agriculture. And it was the best document that we wrote, because we utilized that document that we spent $6,900 on. And over the next few years, we've probably wrote grants and had successful applications upwards of about $750,000, where we now have a trailer, a truck, equipment. We still have the market. It's grown into a Christmas market. We developed some curriculum with our local university, 5 modules, which is amazing. The Kweseltken kitchen itself, as you can see, on wheels. We've taken that on food journeys, canning festivals, fishing camps, hunting camps. It's been to schools, so we put a lot of miles on that trailer, and we could set it up for anything, whether it's teaching smoking or packaging or dehydrating or canning, or so we have a lot of equipment. So whatever the user would need, we supply. So we always take the opportunity with all of our programs from our charitable side to work with CIFN and our lending side. So we take with us like the business planning and risk management modules, and take the opportunity to teach people it's not just about the processing, it's about the business thinking or what goes into it. And that works into the food safety planning, and kind of where we are right now. 4 years down the road, we have a documentary done and the whole list of equipment and supplies to this program. So there's our kind of region right there, but our region is actually a lot bigger than what we show because we have clients from the Kootenays, Nickel Valley, Caribou-Chilcotin. We had a couple up in the Kootenays, down to the Stoll Nation. So, our region is quite large. So we address with this program the vulnerable global food chains and agriculture and food security, because as we all know, during COVID, um, shelves were empty at the stores and we were bringing in food because there were shortages. And yeah, so that's kind of how we started the whole um, project. The goal was the development of the economic and cultural livelihoods, which is all of this work we promoted with business planning. This is a slide that I'm
My
not proud of.
apologies. My apologies, George. The slide is not moving.
Oh, the slide's not moving.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Uh,
I broke it already.
Yes, it's working now. Thanks.
all right, does this slide showing up about CIFN?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So it says everything comes from an idea. This is my very sad artwork, as you can see on the wetboard. And this is just kind of a concept because everything comes from that idea. And we talk to some new clients like that, it's like just get pen to paper. It's like if you have an idea rolling around in your head and there's opportunity, we can help bring that idea out on paper and come with a finished product. I just drew that on the board, and then my staff, I told them I want 2 new banners, and that's what they came up with. So you can see the finished product is pretty good, but it's just an analogy of, everything comes from an idea. Can I switch it? Yeah. Did that work?
Yes, that worked.
Okay, that's good. So this is our actual $6,900 document. We did 12 case studies from farmers. We analyzed strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats. And we developed the recommendations for advancing Indigenous agriculture and food security. And it's just amazing. Not only did we use this document, but so many other organizations like health centers, food policy groups, they also used it because it related to what they were pursuing. And they used this document to prove what we were talking about all along and what we needed, and use the recommendations to acquire funds for their programs and services. So here's some, recommendations, 1, 2, and 3. I won't go into all of it, but, help farmers focus on farming, support a holistic Indigenous food system, and build equity into the food system. So there's a lot of points to each one of those in how we support the farmers, how we protect things like wild salmon and fish habitat, including food sovereignty and community-based forest management practices. So there's just a whole long list of recommendations on how we look at things and promote as staff and managers of these programs. The goal, this is a picture when we first started the Kweseltken project, and that was, in partnership with the Kweseltken and also Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association. So our goal was to support traditional and cultural vendors, growers, harvesters, artisans through the pandemic. There was a weekly market for Indigenous and non-Indigenous. It grew from 14 vendors and attendees to 60 vendors and 1,600 attendees. And this is on a weekly basis. So we're quite busy in supporting all of that. When you look at the challenges we faced, it wasn't only the pandemic, but we were experiencing every natural disaster you can possibly kind of imagine. Extreme heat wave. That was that heat dome, and it got up to, I believe it was like 47, 48 degrees. There were many fires. There was evacuation center. And we helped with this program feeding evacuees and firefighters. And, we're producing everything from jerky to fruit leather and cooking full meals for hundreds and hundreds of evacuees. So, on our charitable side of CIFN, we've really done a lot to provide those supports. And of course, being from Tacoma's, our office is also in a residential school. So when 215 came, we were very supportive of our community that hosts us and help them with, some of the ceremonies and work around that area. So the Kweseltken did a lot, and it was more, we kind of step up to the plate whenever communities need us. Like we were involved in the Lytton rebuild, and just a number of things when communities are needing help. This is a curriculum development. The 5 modules is the initial assessments, setting up your farm, land management, enterprises, selling and distribution. We included videos. It's a very well done document, and it can be downloaded, and it's very resourceful. And, again, our mandate being business development, we included information on that. So this is a sample of what's inside the kitchen and what we can do. You can see some dried meat there, and, some other yummy pastries and some of the equipment. And we always value the cultural teachings, because anything we do in the kitchen, we can do traditionally. So we make sure that we have, the cultural teachers, myself, there's a few others who can, discuss, talk, and actually do all these things. So we aided the 160 evacuees. There's many more firefighters, community members, volunteers at they call them EOCs, the Emergency Operations Center. And our Powell Arbor is one of the safest, foreign evacuation center to take in people who need places to put their RV and tents and that kind of thing. There's Kwana. He's no longer, he's still a community member, and he helped in hosting a lot of the skills training. We even had a partnership with UVic and Gustafson School of Business, where we did an agri-tourism course. And we do that as well. We partner with North Island College, UVic, and UBC in doing these kind of courses. So our partnership and training is very widespread. And also TRU, Thompson Rivers University. Traditional hunting camps, serving 3 communities. Those are just the 3 communities that are very close to us. So here we just have kind of successful results. This report and this slide was done a few years ago, so those numbers have grown. And so we'll have to update this one, but this was from our first year. You can see how many pounds, we kept track of everything. So it was quite successful. And there's Tina with Kwana. She was our coordinator as well. Just with this on the business side of the kitchen, there's many things under risk management and insurance, talking about the sanitation plans, equipment calibration, product labeling, safety and hygiene and orientation training, the business planning. We've done a break-even analysis so that we can still support, but not have to lose money for our organization. Yeah, you can see the many safety plans for the different things, right from jams and jellies, smoked meat, frozen sausages. These are some of our partners. You can see when you do projects in the community, in the region, we have about 20 partners just listed here. So there's a number of folks, and I think this kind of rolls back around to the thought of the co-op. Like with all these partners doing kind of having the same kind of vendors and kind of business models, how can you turn that into a co-op as, kind of the reason why we're here today as well. So now we just want to stabilize the funding for Kweseltken. We want to keep building our programs, supporting our people. And yeah, right here is the last slide. It's just basically says thank you, or Cook's Gem. And this is actually at my little farm, on top of developmental lending, doing a lot of things for the business community. Yeah, I also like doing this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a whatever you can do off the side of your desk, and as long as you're hitting the targets from your funders and you're making your directors happy, they let me do fun projects from our charitable side, such as the Kweseltken Kitchen. And that is it.
Thank you so much, George. That was an amazing presentation, and like very inspiring on how many people are working together to support the community. So next we will talk to Candy Joe, the Business Services Officer and lead for
I
the.
think I saw Daphne waving.
I think it was
Oh, thank you, Daphne.
So working with George is Candy Joe, the Business Services Officer, and we'll discuss the Indigenous Women Entrepreneurs Program offered at the CIFN.
Yeah. So, I'm just trying to get my slides to pop up. Sure. Is this showing up?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So this is kind of the staff that we have here at Community Futures. There's myself at the very end, Keone Jode, who I'm the IWE Business Support Officer for the Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurship Program. Because we went over it, I'm just going to skip through this Community Futures portion. So right here, we also have my email address for any questions about the program, or if anyone's wanting to follow up with it. And so that will be Keontae at CFDC of CIFN.com. So the IWE program is actually like a fantastic program. Actually, I'm going to slide over to this slide first. So there are two different loan programs you can get into for the Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurship Program, depending on what level of business you're currently at. So the program over on the left side is our IWE microloan funds, and it is such a great program because as not only do you not need as much equity to bring into your loan, but because we understand that most of these businesses that will be looking for this loan are just getting into business, as we'll do loans of up to $20,000 with an interest rate of prime plus 4%. And one of the great parts is there's a non-repayable portion to this. So you can get at upwards of $2,000 of the loan basically written off of non-repayable. And on top of that, you're actually able to get upwards of 12 months of a duration of the loan with absolutely no payments and no interest. So it really takes a big portion off your plate as you're getting into your business, getting in everything rolling, that you're not going to have to worry about the payments or interest for that initial year. So we've had some clients that had just kind of get out of the gates, it's going as fast as they can, and they get a focus on reinvesting all that money back into the business, keep going for expansions and finding new clientele. The other loan that we have is the wealth program. So that's going to be over on the right side. These loans go upwards of $50,000. There's usually for people that are already in business, looking to expand or take that new step in their business. So this is also another prime plus 4 or interest rate, with a couple of exceptions on here. You'll need 10% cash equity for your loan, and I believe it's a maximum of up to $2 million in gross annual value. So here is a bit of a IWE loan breakdown for some of the requirements that you're going to need for them. So this first one has our IWE loan agreement and grants. So maximum of $20,000. This is for our first micro loan program. It has a non-repayable amount, and depending on how large of a loan that you're going to have, we'll figure out a good non-repayable portion for you, along with a duration of no interest, no payments. It has a reduced interest rate based on applicant's risk. So we usually try and do a couple of riskier loans. We like to go based off of character, because we understand that not everyone's going to be at the same in financial steps as others. Some people might have some lower credit, but as long as we see that you're making the steps to improving, we're going to work with you as much as we can to get you that loan and get your business running. There are no penalties for early repayment, and our security is pretty lenient, and having a promissory note and our general security agreement, and 5% cash equity for a loan of $20,000 is a lot more attainable than most other loans being 10% or more. And we also have terms of 3 to 5 years. So in all the years of like hearing about different loans and programs, I've never found one that's actually had a non-repayable portion, and on top of that, having an interest and payment-free timeline. So those are the 2 loan programs we have for the IWE workshop. On top of those, we do also host business planning workshops, financial literacy workshops, and I always love kind of hosting those because you get to see all these different connections between the attendees, is in the morning, it kind of starts out a little bit quiet, but then by lunch, everyone's talking to each other, throwing in back business ideas between each other. And it's kind of sucks at the end of the day knowing that uh, that's kind of just your time with your group, but just all those connections that you then have, knowing that there's other people starting businesses within your region, it really just fills your heart. So that is the IWE program.
Thank you so much, Keontae. That was amazing and seems like a really great program for people just starting off their businesses.
Yeah.
So before we open it up for questions, we are going to be speaking to Stephanie Fletcher, who is a business analyst who will cover the financing options through the community features of Central Ontario First Nation, including other resources available. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. So White Co-op Tip, Stephanie Fletcher, Rinsquest. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Fletcher. I'm the business analyst for Community Future Central Ontario First Nation. I'm a proud Williams Lake First Nation member and have strong connection ties to High Bar First Nation. I've been in banking for 27 years, mostly in Indigenous banking. It's wonderful to be here to talk to everybody today. And so at Community Futures, we do offer general loans up to 125,000. Our interest rate is normally prime plus 3 or 4. We do higher risk lending. So we are looking at more character, viability, and of course, any financial institution is looking at people's credit. Whereas maybe if you came to us, we'll be more lenient with the credit than, say, if you even go to like Bank of Montreal or one of the bigger banks. So in saying that, Community Futures does deliver new relationship trusts. We call it NRT, which is an equity match program. Now, this program is only for registered BC status Indians. So if you're registered in a BC band, to help Indigenous get into business, one of the hardest things is equity, like Keontae was talking about. Most financial institutions want to see 10 to 15% cash equity. So with this new relationship trust equity match program, this helps people get into business. So it goes up to $5,000. You don't have to put in the 5,000. Say you needed 5,000 for your equity, you could put in 2,500, and this program will match that 2,500, bringing your equity up to 5,000. The most it'll go up to is 5,000. For communities, for community projects, it goes up to 25,000. We also deliver, do you know how to say it? We also deliver a program, and I'm just going to call it CNA because I cannot say it. I can't say it.
So it's actually part of the band or the collection of bands that I'm a part of. So I'm originally from Shakin, so a small band just outside of Merritt. And I always laugh because, yeah, it's like when we get to the CNA, I'm just like, technically I'm kind of a part of them, but I have no clue how to nicely say that name.
But we do deliver this program. This program is a hard sell because there's only 6 bands in this the
CNA kind of group.
Yeah, and it's more Boston Bar, Ashcroft area, but there's only 6 bands that belong to it. But this is an amazing program for those band members because they match up to 10,000. So basically those members, if they put in 10,000, this program's going to match 10,000. But again, you'd have to go on our website to see what bands, or contact me and I could let you know what bands qualify. Because again, there's only 6. So again, we do general loans. We've got the great IWE and wealth program. One thing great about Community Future Central Interior First Nation is we give business support. So if we get a lot of people that they're experts in their industry, but to come in and write a business plan, they get scared. So we have a great business plan book here that Keontae has put up on the screen. We can send you hard copies. All you have to do is do the Q thing and you can get it. This is a great book for any entrepreneur, especially Indigenous, because it's designed for Indigenous entrepreneurs. Everything you need to start your business is in this workbook. Please share this. If anybody needs a copy, get in contact with us. We're more than willing to help you. Again, everything is in this book, but what I'd like to talk a little bit about is the business plan. Why do financial institutions want a business plan? Well, first off, a business plan is actually for yourself as well. It's a live document. Your business plan is always going to change. It's not a one-time thing. This actually is for you to prove the viability of your business. So what your business does, why people would want to use your business, and do your market research, your competitors, why your business is going to be viable and successful. When it comes to first thing in a business plan too, is what people need to know. And this is on page 14 of our business plan. Again, if you want a copy of this, we can get this to you, but it's a sample of sources and uses. This is huge for lenders like myself, especially in a business plan, because we want to see where the money's going. We want to see your equity. We want to see how much you need for a loan, and then we can do the grant portion for you. But we want to see where you're going to use this money and why. Why do you need this money to complete your business, to get it up and running, or for your expansion? Okay. Now, with a balance sheet is a snapshot of what's happening at it right now, like at a specific point in time of right now. So for startups, we don't see a lot of balance sheets because you're not existing, right? For me, what's really important is that income statement. When you're doing your business plan and you're doing your projections, you're making sure you've done your market research, that you, first off, whatever product or service you're delivering, you're going to make a profit. Okay. Then you need to do your due diligence for your expenses and really think about it. You're going to have to plan how much you're going to spend on your utilities. How much are you going to spend to pay yourself, or if you need staff? And in the business plan, we want to see a bit of a profit. Okay, obviously the business needs to make some profit. I've been a lender like in business for like Indigenous business for 27 years. I've seen so many people put these big numbers because they think that's what a bank wants to see. That's not what we want to see. We want to see that the business is viable, but we like conservative numbers. So keep that in mind when you're doing your projections. Be as conservative as you can so that when you over project, you're just bringing more profit in, right? I think a lot of people, they get caught up when it comes to the business plan. Again, we have templates for you. A lot of people, when it comes to the business plan, they want to outsource. And if it's a small enough project, like if there's not a lot of environmental issues or anything, most business plans can be completed by the entrepreneur. They just need a little hand holding, which that's what Community Futures we're here for. You know, whether, again, we only go up to 125,000. However, if you're going to go through another financial institution, we're here to help you, get you ready to go to that bigger financial institution to get the loan. So again, we are happy to give any business support we can to entrepreneurs, as well as fund the projects. And so I'll talk a little bit about the loan and grant requirements. So evidence of Indigenous ancestry and at least 18 years old, proof of equity. As you noted, we'd like to see at least 10% equity cash or contributed assets. Now, when we talk about those contributed assets, when it comes to the grants, they want to see cash. They want to see a bank statement with your name and that cash in there. A completed business plan and acceptable credit. So if anybody has any questions, if anybody needs any further business support, or would like our business plan workbook, which has great stuff. If you just have any questions, you can email myself. And is my email up there?
It's on the first slide.
Okay.
So it's just because our email system just uses our first name and then the at CFDC.
So my email is Stephanie, STEPHANIE at CFDC of CIFN.com. So any questions, I'm happy to hear from you via phone call or email. So contact me and let's get your business going.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. That is amazing. And I found your presentation very refreshing and very straightforward. Sometimes when you go into get support, people beat around the bush. Thank you for just laying it right out. So
yeah.
And that's sometimes making it as clear, well, it is as clear as possible to entrepreneurs is the best way forward. So thank you so much. So I have a list of prepared questions, but this is the time in the webinar where we will take questions from the audience. So feel free to show your face, raise your hand if you have any questions. We're pretty friendly here, so just I invite you to ask any questions you have, or if you're still a little shy, put them in the chat and I'll read them out as they come up. Daphne has a question, so we'll start with Daphne.
That was a really, really great overview of CFTC of CIFN resources. I guess as a person who I can't access your services, but I would love to learn more about how to support Indigenous and First Nations businesses in my area. So wondering if there is some sort of a directory, or if you have any thoughts on some specific people. I mean, now that Kweseltken is over for the year, is there any other way for folks to support the businesses that you in turn support? Thank you.
Well, I do know of there's a Canadian Indigenous Businesses or Aboriginal Businesses directory online, CCAB. I know that that's kind of been a work in progress. It's trying to get more people registered with it, making it a little bit easier to find some of those Indigenous businesses in the area. Sometimes I would even just kind of reach out to some of those Indigenous businesses that you come across, see if they have put their information on any directories such as that, because that is actually something that our field is lacking, is a nice kind of directory for all of the businesses in the areas. So it's kind of been a work in progress, have a little bit of an idea on the back burner, but just making sure that they kind of know of some of the resources out there, some of the non-repayable grants and that there are to offer. Because what I tend to see between some smaller Indigenous businesses is they just haven't heard about like some of the extra resources out there, some of the different grants that we have access to. So even some of the programs that we have to offer, or with me going to school for business, is I actually had no clue that we had some of these opportunities, and my band is a part of the CNA, and that's up to $10,000 of equity matching that I had no clue I had access to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually I do have a question. So the CFDC of CIFN is both connected within the Community Futures Network and as an Indigenous financial institution. Can you explain what like what a Community Futures organization is and a Indigenous financial institution? And how do organizations or individuals that have come to you benefit from using those services?
So I'll start with kind of talking about the IFIs, or Indigenous Financial Institutions. So I'm trying to remember a number. Do you recall about how many IFIs there are across Canada?
7. Was it?
Or no, that's the CF. Or no. Is it just 7 IFIs?
I thought he said 11 community futures and 7 IFs.
Within BC, but yeah, they are
Yeah.
a national one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So NACA being one of the main funders for the IFIs, is they're able to get kind of a lot more money for some of these programs that are all designated to Indigenous businesses. Is so unlike any other kind of lender out there, where NACA's helping us give more opportunities at, like, say, lower equity requirements, and to be able to provide these business loan opportunities to more businesses across, I guess, Canada in general. Because a lot of the time, the biggest issues for Indigenous businesses is just getting like the initial equity, or not having like great credit at first. And NACA helps us kind of turn that into an opportunity to provide grants and non-repayable like portions for these programs. Description of community futures.
Oh, boy.
They wanted to know the difference between community futures, like we're community futures and we're on IF.
Yeah, so on the community futures side, we're funded by Pacific Can. We get operational funding. 35 years ago, we got some startup investment dollars that we could turn into loans for clients. We do a number of them, like from youth and agricultural, all those kind of things. And through that, there's 34 CFs in the province. And we're one of 4 that are Indigenous focused. But we all work collectively, and it's a wonderful provincial team. And as an IFI, the Indigenous Financial Institution, we're one of 11 in the province, one of 67 across Canada. NACA funds us as an IFI with other programs such as Indigenous Women's Entrepreneurial. There's an ADLA agricultural program, there's community enhancement funds, and I'm also one of 6 people on the technical advisory group to NACA. So any new program, training, funding, advice that goes directly to the board. So that's the real Indigenous side of us, the First Nation and Indigenous side that we do a lot of work, and NACA being federal, and I consider Pacific Can to be more provincial. So it's like we have two masters. We have Pacific Can that we run programs and lending and everything to, and then we have NACA, who's federal, and we do the same thing with our reporting and providing audited statements. So we're very strict and clear on what our mandates are. We hit our targets because we got targets that we need to hit from both sides. And, it keeps us busy. And it makes us a wonderful organization because not only are we a CF and IFI, but we're also unique and have a charitable status that we run a number of different programs on. And, sorry, I had to step out. Under our charitable status, I couldn't let 200,000 walk out the door, so I'm crossing my fingers at our application. So I had to take that call. But I'm glad I snuck back in to, catch the end, and hopefully I didn't miss all the questions.
Yeah,
I hope that explains what we are.
yeah, yeah, that's great. And thank you for the clarification. So the next question I have is, how does the concept of Kweseltken influence business development within Indigenous communities?
Well, when we go out with a Kweseltken project and we have all of our equipment and our truck and our trailer, every time we go, that's about $250,000 worth of investment. And when we have our business planning workbooks and we talk about making projects feasible, it kind of goes hand in hand with, we kind of hope it inspires people to say, they took a project from that silly scribble of an idea in George's head, and look what they're doing right now. So there's the end result, and it shows, when applying your idea to actual planning, that the end result is a successful program. So that's how we relate it to the business planning side.
Thank you. So I have a final question, since we're running low on time. So since we are cooperatives first, and we're so thankful that we're able to sit here today and have this discussion and continue. I am curious to hear what you believe is the perception of cooperative business, and especially within the community features in Central Ontario First Nation.
I think that's interesting because, the co-ops isn't as, predominant here in BC as it is, say in Alberta or Saskatchewan and going further. So we really want to see how we can collectively, like, say we have 20 people at the market who are doing alike things and making alike things. How do we turn those projects into cooperatives? And then we can look at bigger scale, like, actual farms who are producing either livestock or feed or something. Like, how can we collectively get them together to develop a co-op? And how do we use cooperative first models to, work with potential clients and groups in that manner? So that is a big interest for us to pursue. And I think talking more about cooperatives and being more involved, I think that's the end goal. So I'm very happy that we had this opportunity, and looking forward and hoping that we work with cooperatives first more in the future.
Well, thank you very much, and we're really looking forward to continuing the conversation of working together and supporting cooperative development and business development throughout Western Canada, and especially within the Central Ontario of BC. So I want to thank you, George, Stephanie, and Keontae, for spending the last hour with me and for everybody who is able to join today. Thanks again. If you would like to reach out, please feel free to reach out to myself or the CFDC of CIFN. We had our information sent out, and a recording of this webinar will be sent to everybody who signed up. So once again, thank you. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And Mustas.
Well, happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
It's coming
holidays.
soon.
Thanks.